عظم قدر جاه محمد وأنا له فضل عليه عظيما. وفي محكم التنزيل قال لخلقه صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would like to begin this presentation by first of all thanking my Murshid who found me, who put me on this path and is now guiding me through the lore of certainty. I would also like to send salams and gratitude to Hazrat Abu Bakr Sirajuddin for writing this book and for giving us this immense treasure. I first read this book about 4 years ago when I was on holiday in Chitral, and you know, it was a very remote, beautiful place, so I could really focus on the book, and it just transformed me. So when I heard that Taimoor Sahib was starting the study circle, it just made sense for me to join it. And actually, while in Chitral, I was reading the chapter, The Sun and the Moon, on a full moon night. And I was just overwhelmed at that time with the author's clarity. And indeed, as the verse from the Quran says, and I quote, "We shall show them our signs upon the horizons and within themselves, until it be clear to them that He is the truth." So it is this aspiration to seek the truth from the clues that we receive from the outer world and the guidance we receive to comprehend these signs on the horizons and all around us. That is the lore of certainty. And this is the chapter that I'll attempt to outline for you today. And if we go back to the full moon that I saw in Chitral, it is a symbol or corresponds to what Mette just spoke about, the true man who has found his eye of certainty. And it is from the eye of certainty and eventually to the truth of certainty, where true man is also annihilated, as Mette explained, where we begin our journey in this book, as she outlined. And also, that is also the destination of the journey of our soul. So it's this long, arduous, but very rich and rewarding journey, should we choose to embark on it, is undertaken with the guidance that we receive from Allah, which is the lore of certainty. And I'll delve into the chapter with the opening quote from the Quran. "Then Adam received words from his Lord, who relented towards him. Verily, He is the relenting, the merciful. We said, Go fallen hence, all of you together. Yet assuredly will I send unto you a guidance, and whosoever shall follow my guidance," my is capital, "no fear shall come upon him, and neither shall they grieve." So this guidance from above is what leads us and what lights up our journey. This was a very short and succinct chapter that outlines the lore of certainty basically through 3 points. The first point lays out how this guidance of Allah, or in other words, how religions, and all religions, describe the correlation or correspondence between man and the outside world. So if man is the little world or the microcosm, the world is the corresponding macrocosm. So all religious cosmology describing the world is also actually describing our inner state. And obviously, it follows that the inner state of fallen man is going to be very different from the inner state of true man, who's achieved or found his eye of certainty. And this correspondence is essential to understand, because as fallen man, which is, or profane man, which is everybody who isn't realized, is blind to the truth of his own soul. So it's like our own soul is a dark forest for us. There's no full moon there, and we can't see or understand it. The only thing we can see is the outside world. And that's the only thing we can see with clarity and make sense of. So now I'll go back to the quote that I read to you before, when I saw the full moon, which came to me when I saw the full moon. We shall show them our signs upon the horizons and within themselves, until it be clear to them that He is the truth. So not maybe, that is why the full moon that night in Chitral struck a chord inside me, because these are the signs that is corresponding with something. I mean, I've forgotten it. I can't understand my own soul, but something is corresponding inside, which is why I dimly recognized a sign. So we're given two examples of this correspondence in this chapter. The first one is the use of the word kafirun that comes up quite frequently in the Quran to describe not just the worst human beings on earth, kafirun, but also the worst and lowest elements of our souls that we have to reckon with in this journey back to ourself or back to the eye of certainty, and that we have to fight against in this journey. And the second example we're given is, which is also the theme running across this entire book, is the correspondence between the fountain of immortality, which is at the center of the Garden of Eden, and the eye of certainty, which is at the center of the soul of true man. So I'll repeat that, and it's a fairly common, the fountain of immortality and the Garden of Eden are common symbols in many religions. So the fountain of immortality, which is at the center of the Garden of Eden, corresponds to the eye of certainty, which is the center of the soul of true man, realized man. So the fountain and the garden are outward reflections of originally Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, presumably before the fall when he had the eye of certainty. So against this background, and taking on from here, the second point of this chapter states that because man is the pinnacle of creation, Ashraful Makhlukat, the state of man's soul will determine the state of the outer world. So it's like saying that the macrocosm is actually dependent on the microcosm. And over time, when man lost this eye of certainty, so we're talking about, a very long time, it reflected in the degeneration and corruption of the outer world. So now we come to the crux of the whole chapter, which is the idea of how after losing this eye of certainty in our souls, we are still given a gift from Allah from heavens, which is the lore of certainty. So which is like a light, it's like a beacon that we can rely on, by means of which we can return to the state of true man, and we can once again attain the eye of certainty that we lost. The last point in this chapter ends with some Quranic revelations that hint to this degeneration in the micro and macrocosm, and the gradual decline of those who successfully follow the law. So I can't improve upon what's written here, so I'm just going to read out the last chapter. Those who seek to follow the path of return, al-tariqa, are mentioned in the chapter of the event as the foremost, as-sabiqun. Of such it is said that there are many among the earlier generations and few among the later generations. Afterwards, there is mention of those of the right, whom it is said that there are many among the earlier generations and many among the later generations. And this may be taken as a reference to those whose virtue it is to remain on the right side of religious law or Sharia, which is in contrast to those of the left who are in revolt against the law or the Sharia, or all religious law actually, I shouldn't just say Sharia. It is owing to the natural tendency of all earthly things towards degeneration that the proportion of those who follow the path is much smaller in later than in earlier times. So that was the summary of my very short chapter. Thank you.